I'm Teisha Bader with Shalom TV's news update for Wednesday, February the 27th, 2013. The Jerusalem Post reports that Israel's public security minister Yitzhak Aharonovitch said today that Israel is exploring the possibility of involving international agents in the investigation into the death last week of Palestinian prisoner Arafat Jaradat. Jaradat was arrested for throwing stones at Israeli vehicles in the West Bank and died in the Israeli prison of Megiddo a week later. Israel said Jaradat died of a heart attack, but the Palestinians claim he was tortured, and the Palestinian Authority and several UN officials have called for an independent and international inquiry into the death. Aharonovitch said an international observer could be added to the team investigating Jaradat's death in order to dispel accusations that he was killed as a result of any improper treatment. Israeli officials also noted yesterday that there were currently 3 parallel investigations into Jaradat's death. The health ministry was continuing to conduct an autopsy, the police were investigating, and as is the case in all instances of deaths in prison, a judge has ordered an inquest as well. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu continued to raise the alert regarding Iran's nuclear program today, urging the global community to threaten military sanctions against Iran if it continues to ignore calls to halt its nuclear program. I believe that the international community needs to increase the sanctions and make clear that if Iran continues with its program, Netanyahu said, there will be military sanctions. I think there are other ways to make Iran listen to the demands of the international community. Netanyahu made the comments during a meeting in Jerusalem with visiting Sri Lankan Foreign Minister Jamini Lakshman Paris. Netanyahu's remarks follow a meeting earlier in the day in Kazakhstan between Iran and the P5+1, the 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, and Germany, which, as you may have seen on IBA News, yielded no real concrete result except that the parties agreed to meet again in March and April. Meanwhile, here in the U.S., there are several efforts to secure and strengthen existing sanctions against Iran. A large group of bipartisan U.S. senators are urging European officials to ask the European Central Bank to ban access by Iranian regime officials to its money transfer system. Democratic Senator Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire and Republican Senator Mark Kirk of Rhode Island spearheaded a letter to the President of the European Council, which was signed by another 34 senators, who allege that Iran uses the bank's cross-border funds transfer system to launder euros into its accounts, bypassing tough U.S. and European sanctions. And Reuters reports that House Foreign Affairs Committee Chairman Republican Ed Royce of California and the panel's top Democrat Eliot Engel of New York are set to present legislation that expands penalties against Iran, building on existing U.S. sanctions. French newspaper Le Monde reported that police in France have arrested 2 men who are suspected of having helped Mohamed Merah carry out his deadly attacks last year. Merah murdered a rabbi and 3 children at the Ozar HaTorah Jewish school in Toulouse last March, several days after he gunned down 3 French soldiers. French police have arrested and released several people in an ongoing investigation over the past year. There's no further information about the recent arrest of these 2 individuals at the moment. The Jerusalem Post reports that members of Washington's Jewish community are scheduled to protest tomorrow against congressional staffer Erin Friedman's ongoing refusal to grant his wife a get, a Jewish divorce document. Friedman, who is an Orthodox Jew, divorced his wife Tamar Epstein in a civil court in 2010, but has not yet granted her a Jewish divorce decree, causing Epstein to be considered an agunah, a woman whose marriage is over but whose husband refuses to give her a Jewish bill of divorce, preventing her from ever marrying again. Tomorrow's rally is being organized by the Organization for the Resolution of Agunot, whose executive director, Rabbi Jeremy Stern, told the Jerusalem Post that Friedman's refusal to grant Epstein a Jewish divorce is not only in clear violation of Jewish law, but is also a form of domestic abuse. The issue of the Agunah is one of the most serious problems facing the Jewish community today. And finally, with Purim behind us and Passover soon approaching, the Jewish Council for Public Affairs is once again partnering with Mazon, a Jewish response to hunger, for the 5th annual Hunger Seders. Hunger Seders are a variation on the traditional Passover Seder or meal and its message of liberation. Thousands are expected to participate in Hunger Seders this year, which are aimed at educating and empowering participants to take action towards the long-term goal of ending hunger in the U.S. Both the JCPA and Mazon provide resources and information to help participants incorporate that goal into their traditional Passover Seder. You can find out more at hungerseder.org. And that's Shalom TV's news update for Wednesday, February the 27th, 2013. I'm Teisha Bader.